We've learned quite a few different factoring patterns in this chapter, and now it's time to really bring them together into a system that you can apply to successfully factor all types of problems. You can almost learn this like a script. If you know your lines, you can prompt yourself and cue yourself to make the right moves at the right time. I think we've stressed over and over and over again in class that the first step is always to look for common factors. Look, Mary, not woof. If there is one, factor out the GCF. Not all problems have common factors, but this is really the thing that always has to be your first thing that you look for. So, second, after you factor out the GCF, or if there isn't one, either way, you want to look at any polynomial that has two terms. Look for two terms, and if there are two terms, it means you're looking for a difference of squares. I'm not going to, in this video, review each of these things, but I am going to say that I'm going to give you the order and sort of the system for thinking about them. If you need to do more than this, then you need to go back to other videos. Difference of squares. A perfect square minus a perfect square. After the GCF is factored out, or if there isn't one, and there are three terms, in the class we call this try to try. The trinomial. Three terms means when I say try to try, you're going to put in your parentheses, you're going to put in your signs, you're going to look for what goes here and here and what goes here and here. Remembering about you're looking for numbers that multiply to C and add to B, or multiply to C and subtract to B, looking at whatever the pattern is. However, this is a place to be very careful. Watch out. If the quadratic term, and I hope you know what that means, the quadratic term has a coefficient other than 1, you must guess and check. Guess and check. In other words, it's not going to multiply to C and add or subtract to B. You make your guess based on the first term of the trinomial and the last term of the trinomial, and then you have to check your guess using the O and the I. If there are you need to group. So you first put in the parentheses, then you take out the greatest common factor, and then look at that as having a common factor. Again, refer to the previous videos if you need to. Now here is the second tricky thing. The most common mistakes in factoring are, first, to forget to factor out the greatest common factor. And the second one, the tricky thing, is to keep factoring until no factor can be broken down further. In other words, until you have all primes, just as if we were doing the prime factorization. It's just really important that you can look through these steps and cue yourself as you go. Just ask yourself, what am I trying to do now? What am I trying to do now? It may seem overwhelming, but the more we practice all of these things together, the more you will get the hang of it. I think you're all going to be ready by the time of the test.